So speaking of the teams in the Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, I should say, the Ravens are at the Eagles. The line opened up Ravens -7. It's up to 8. Despite, there's lots of public action here coming into Baltimore, but the line's not falling. So the Sharps aren't taking the Eagles as I thought they might. So we talked about how this might be a trap game. So what are your thoughts on that? And who do you like in this game?
I don't think this is a trap game. I know what you're getting at. I like the Ravens here. I think that they match up very well with the Eagles. They have the ability to make Carson Wentz's life a nightmare. We saw what they did to a weak offensive line against the Bengals last week. They pressured Joe Burrow relentlessly, forced him into many bad throws, turnovers, incompletions. And at one point, they were up 27 in that game and only allowed 3 points. Now, I don't think the same thing happens here, but the Eagles are without most of their top offensive linemen and most of their top receivers. Now, Travis Fulgham did a good job last week. He stepped up. Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson are going to be back at some point. So if both of them are back, then, Philly might be able to make some bigger plays. But again, those guys are more downfield threats. And I think that if the Ravens can figure out a way to cover all three of them, if they all three play, I think they're going to be in pretty good shape there. There is a little look ahead for the Ravens to the Steelers, but this is a very important thing to note because I got very confused about this. I'm fairly certain they have a bye week in between the game. So it's Eagles bye, and then they face the Steelers. So I think with that bye, John Harbaugh is going to be able to say to the guys like, hey, let's not look too far ahead. Like, we don't want to look out 2 weeks in advance and say like, hey, let's focus on that Steelers game. He'll be able to have them ready and well coached and say like, hey, going into this bye, if we crush the Eagles, then we get good momentum going for our bye week, take time off, then come back and beat the Steelers. So for that reason, I don't think the look ahead is going to be that big of a deal because of the bye week and John Harbaugh being a great coach. So I'm on Baltimore -8, probably for 2 or 3 units here. I'm curious to hear if you think it's going to be trappy because of that game, even if it is a couple away.
Well, I thought it was going to be trappy, and then you kind of informed me that I'm wrong because I thought Steelers at Ravens was next week or whatever. I don't know where the game is, but
it was supposed to be. I will say that it got moved 1 week, so that's where all the confusion I think is coming.
Yeah, I really need to look at all the schedule changes. I'll talk about something else schedule-wise this week that tripped me up as well in the next game. But that's news to me. I thought that the Ravens are going to look ahead to the Steelers. That's their arch rival. They don't know anything about this Eagles team. It's non-conference foe. They see them every 4 years, except for the preseason. They always seem to play against each other in the preseason. Like with that in mind, with a bye coming up, one thing I like is betting good teams going into a bye. That didn't really work this past week with Seattle and New Orleans, but it's generally been a good thing because, a good team is going to be focused if they had nothing to look ahead to. So I think the Ravens, they played sloppily last week. Lamar Jackson didn't have a good game. He was 1 pass away from being a 500 passer in that game. It's just not a good look for him, but I think he only ran twice. So I think he was kind of saving himself for something. Maybe it's this game. And if so, he should run all over the Eagles. The Eagles have a terrible linebacking core. So Lamar Jackson should run well. Mark Andrews should have a great game. And then you look at the Eagles offensive line, it's just a disaster. They're already missing 3 starting linemen. Lane Johnson was carted off the field last week. Who knows if he's going to play? If he's out, that's 4 starting offensive linemen who are out. And the Eagles receiving core, you mentioned them. Maybe this is the week they get some of their guys back. But if Fulcrum, as I like to call him, reference to Chuck, he's not enough to beat the Ravens. I don't think the Steelers took him seriously. They left them wide open for a touchdown on one play. I think the Ravens are going to be like, this guy's not going to beat us. So with the newfound information that you gave me, I am going to pick Baltimore, and I'm probably going to bet them somewhat heavily, maybe very heavily.
Yeah, no, I think I'm definitely going to be at least 3 units on this one. I might go up to 4, which someone asked what a big unit count for me is. Usually the most I'll go is 4 unless I really love a game, which the only time I think I've ever locked in, I think I've locked in 5 units on this twice. Once was on the Jets last year, which was one of the worst decisions I've ever made. And then one was earlier this season, and I can't remember what it was, but I know it won. So I'm 1-1 when I go 5, but usually 4 is big. 3 means I'm very confident, though.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Jets. We haven't covered it all this year.